started the recording. So today we are mainly going to discuss about the sampled matched filter, where we will be realizing the functionality of a correlator receiver by making use of digital circuitry. So one thing that we have to remember while we are going to design this sampled matched filter is that whenever we are reconstructing any of these signal from the channel that is coming out of the channel, we should take care about the bandwidth of the signal. It is very important. And what if the channel bandwidth is lesser than the signal bandwidth? Then the channel itself will eat away. If the channel bandwidth is lesser than the signal bandwidth, then the channel will consume, or the channel will not be able to transmit the information reliably to the receiver. So what is the necessity? Basic necessity is that the channel through which I am sending the information should have enough amount of bandwidth with it, whether it is equal to or it should be greater than the requirement. So what is the criteria is that, first and the foremost thing, we know that using a correlator receiver, correlator means it's basically a matched filter, or we can talk about matched filter first. Then the special form of matched filter is a correlator, where we are comparing the received signal with the symbol itself, with the reference signal itself. So the matched filter goes something like this. I said it is complex conjugate, or I can also write this like the mirrored and time delayed version of the signal waveform that is transmitted. So the matched filter at the receiver, this will be present at the receiver. This will take up a form called as S of capital T minus T over a symbol duration 0 less than equal to T less than or equal to 1 symbol duration, and 0 otherwise. This is the matched filter representation. The matched filter output and the correlator output, because they both are linear operations, the impulse response of the matched filter and that of a correlator will happen to be the same value at time instance t is equal to capital T. This you should have studied in the 4th semester, so therefore I am not looking deeply into this. The output of matched filter and correlator, you can make a note of this. The output of matched filter and correlator will be same at time t is equal to capital T. So therefore, this plays a very, very important role in replacing the matched filter with respect to correlator receivers. Why? Because the correlators are most easily realizable circuitry when compared to that of matched filter. So we will be discussing about this in detail. So coming to this bandwidth part. So whenever I am transmitting a symbol, I will know that it has already been restricted, or it is being filtered out by making use of pulse shaping filters. Ideally, assume that we have a Nyquist filter. It will take a bandwidth of W is equal to 1 over 2T, and this is 1 over 2T. So this is how the bandwidth will look like. So this is the rectangular filter, or the ideal Nyquist filter. The required bandwidth, the bandwidth of the signal W is equal to 1 over 2T. That is, I can write this as Rs by 2, that is symbol rate by 2. The rate at which I am transmitting the symbols divided by 2. This is the bandwidth, minimum bandwidth required for the transmission of symbols over a given channel. Now what we are supposed to do is, whenever I have to realize this, the matched filter or a correlator receiver for such a information system which is occupying the bandwidth of W is equal to 1 over 2T, I have to take care of the minimum Nyquist sampling rate. So this is Nyquist bandwidth rate, okay? So don't confuse this. This is the Nyquist bandwidth or the Nyquist filter using which I am going to transmit Rs number of symbols. The bandwidth required is Rs by 2. At the receiver structure, what do I have to do? I need to reconstruct the signals by obtaining few samples. So how to find out that minimum number of samples that I require in order to detect the actual bits that are transmitted? How to know that is, I know that by sampling rate of the Nyquist sampling rate always states that whether it is in band pass or for a band pass or a baseband signal, the Nyquist rate says that the Fs, the sampling rate, the rate at which the signals are sampled, should be at least twice the transmitted rate. So now the bandwidth that is occupied by this symbol is W, and Fs, the sampling rate, the minimum sampling rate required is at least should be equal to twice W, which means it is 2 into 1 over 2 Ts, which means the sampling rate minimum required is 1 over T, which is equal to the symbol rate. What does this mean? What does this mean? In order to detect Rs number of symbols, I need at least one sample per symbol. In order to detect a bit 1 or a bit 0, let's suppose I'm going to transmit it like this as a sync pulse. Assume that 0 is recognized with a negative amplitude. In order to detect whether this is 1 or a 0, I need to have at least one sample per symbol. So only then I will be able to detect whether the transmitted bit is either 1 or a 0. This is clear? Do you have any doubts so far? Shall we move ahead? Please respond.
Clear, ma'am.
Clear. Okay. So we are going to continue now. So this is about the sampled. The need for the sampled matched filter is that to be able to process the received signal not by using analog circuitry, rather the digital circuits itself. Because most of our devices currently will make use of digital processings rather than the analog circuitry to process the information. So we are going to make use of sampled matched filter. So what is the sampled matched filter is? So I discussed about minimum sampling rate that is required, which is at least one sample per symbol. Now in practical scenarios or in the real-time system, we are going to take more samples per symbol. I think you might have come across the samples per symbol in your LabVIEW. There the samples per symbol is, the default value is 16. So that is the minimum amount of samples that is required for the case of LabVIEW. So normally in any practical scenario if you take in a real-time systems, the number of samples per symbol will be at least greater than 1. So here we will be taking an example of 4 samples per symbol. In order to detect whether the transmitted bit or the symbol is 1 or a 0, I am going to take 4 samples per symbol in order to decide whether the transmitted bit is 1 or a 0. Write a little bit below. That is, I am going to consider 4 samples per symbol in order to detect the bit 0 or bit 1 in the sample matched filter. Now let us try to see how to realize this. First and the foremost thing that we do is, we are going to obtain the received signal, which is the combination of the signal and the channel noise. We are now passing it through a filter. I want at least 4 samples per second. So what I am going to do is, at least I am going to sample it at the Nyquist rate, or Fs such that it is equal to 1 over Ts. Either I can take the minimum Nyquist criterion, but I have said I am going to take 4 samples per second. So I am adjusting this Fs in such a way that it is at least 4 times W. Okay, it is at least 4 times W, not twice, it is 4 times W. So corresponding to this, I will have one sampling duration. So I am going to adjust this bandwidth in such a way that it is equal to the received signal bandwidth. See here, it is not T, it is Ts. This is sampling time. So here minus 1 by 2 Ts. So the total bandwidth will be equal to 1 by Ts. So using this type of a filter, I have have obtained 4 samples per each symbol. So each symbol will undergo this filtering process, and each symbol I can obtain minimum of 4 samples by using such an operation. Now once I have filtered it out, I am going to sample this, or I am going to obtain the samples at the time instance k into ts. So at least for one symbol I need 4 samples, right? So I need to sample at ts duration, giving some ts duration time. I need to obtain the samples at k into ts, where k is the number of samples I need per symbol, where the value is equal to 4. So k is equal to 4. So k at the first instance, k will be equal to 0. That means at 0 time instance I am going to take the sample. Then when k is equal to 1, at ts symbol I am going to get 1 sample. Then at when k is equal to 2, at 2 ts I am going to obtain the third sample. When k is equal to 3, I am going to obtain the fourth sample. So here k can take any value between 0, 1, 2, 3. That means it starts from 0 and ends at number of, if I signify this number of samples per symbol as capital N, then this will stop at n minus 1. So it starts at 0 and then it ends at n minus 1. So what we do next is, once we obtain the samples, we are going to pass these samples into a shift register. So such that I am collecting all the samples corresponding to a single symbol. So I will be sending something like this. I will be passing it to the shift register. How many ever shift registers are required, so many I will take. And I will compare each one of these samples with the corresponding weights. What are these weights? These weights we call it as Ci of n. So this is C1 of n, this is C1 of, or you can call it as 0, C1 of 0, C1 of 1, so on, or Ci of 1, Ci of 0, and this one is Ci of n minus 1. Okay, you will have the weights like this. Then I am going to make the summation of operation. From other weights also you are going to get. Now out of this you are going to obtain your predetection point called z, when where it is z of k is equal to summation n running from 0 to n minus 1 r k minus n into Ci of n. Okay. So this is how we are going to obtain our predetection point, or we are going to obtain a value of z such that I should be able to clearly, distinctly able to decide whether the transmitted symbol is symbol 1 or symbol 2. So whatever the operation that is happening over here is just simple convolution. Discrete time convolution will be happening over here. What is this process is, the weights that we are considering over here, this will be the sample values obtained from reference signals. Let's suppose there are more than 2-3 symbols, then each symbol will have a corresponding weight. Okay, and then we are going to fill this priorly itself, and whatever the incoming received signal will be there, it will be fed into the shift register, and for each shift register I am going to compare the incoming signal samples with the samples that are already stored in the weight. If they match, if these two match, then they are going to multiply themselves and get added all together, and therefore I am going to get a predetection point which will amplify, which will have a positive value when all the samples match exactly. If they are not matching, then this z of k will be negative in nature, which will tell us that it is not actually symbol 1 or symbol 2. So the Ci, the weights are defined for reference signal. So these are particularly defined for particularly defined for each symbol. So these are unique weights defined for each of these symbols. So this is how the structure looks like. Now let us see an example of the same BPSK and try to understand how the sample matching filter will look like or how it actually works. I'm going to draw the structure, or let me give you some of the formulas which are necessary. Z of k I already wrote. Now I will give you how to determining the weights of correlator or the matched filter. So the process is, for determining the weights of matched filter or a correlator, it is defined by the letters Ci of n. C of n is obtained by mapping it to the symbol itself, and where the samples are obtained from the reference signal. This is the reference signal, and I am going to obtain the samples like this. So it is the time shifted. So it exactly looks like a correlator receiver, the matched filter itself, where h of t is equal to s of capital T minus t. So here it exactly looks like a replica. Therefore, the weights that we are going to define is for the matched filter, the discrete time realization of the matched filter, where the reference signal SI gives us the reference, the SI signal gives us the reference, and it will be the time shifted and time reversed representation of the actual symbol itself. So in our case, n was equal to 4, the capital N, the number of samples per symbol, was equal to 4. Therefore, in this case, SI will be 3 minus n. So this is how we are going to define Ci of n. And the pre-detection point, how to obtain this is just mere, so this is a filter, this is a matched filter. I need to convolve the matched filter with respect to the received signal. So the pre-detection point, how to obtain is by making use of the discrete time convolution, where Z of k is equal to summation n running from 0 to n minus 1 Si of k minus k means n minus 1, capital N minus 1. So I can write this as Si of k minus n Ci of n. So this is how the summation equation or the convolution equation will look like for the pre-detection point. Now we will go on stepwise and then try to understand how this actually works. So please note down these expressions, these are important. So whenever I write the diagram, I am going to explain it with respect to the diagram. So these equations are necessary to understand the diagram. So I am going to take an example of two symbol BPSK, that is two symbol PSK, which is BPSK. So I am going to say that the first symbol S1 is equal to cos omega naught t. The amplitude I am assuming it to be equal to 1 for simplicity's sake. S1 will be equal to cos omega naught t. I am going to obtain 4 samples here corresponding to this symbol. So as I said, in our case m or n I am taking it as equal to 4. N is equal to 4 number of samples per symbol. So I am going to obtain 4 samples. One is at 0, the other one is at 1, 2, 3. After 3 it again repeats with 0, 1 because it's a continuous signal. So this is the axis called as k axis, and this is modulo 4. This is of modulo 4 type. So if I plot cosine function here, At 0th time instance it will be equal to plus 1, at 1 it will be equal to 0, at 2 it will be equal to minus 1, at 3 it will be equal to 0, again at 0 it will come back to plus 1. So this is how the waveform looks like. So this one will be plus 1 and the negative peak will be at minus 1. So this is my first symbol S1 of the BPSK. The other symbol will be similarly S2 will be equal to minus cos omega t because it is 180 degree phase shifted. So therefore here also I am going to obtain 4 samples. So this is the kth axis and it is of the type modulo 4, which means it will have 0, 1, 2, 3 and again 0, 1. So here at 0th time instance it starts at minus 1, reaches plus 1 at 2 and goes to 0 and comes back to minus 1. So this is minus 1 and this is plus 1. So these are the two symbols, representations that I am going to use to transmit the information. Now we will try to construct the sample matched filter or the discrete time realization of our matched filter or a correlator receiver. R of t, it will be continuous in nature when it is obtained. It consists of your symbol. It consists of your symbol plus noise. I am going to feed this into a sampler because I need to sample this before I could send this. Of course, there will be a filter over here. I am skipping that filter part. After filter, I am directly going to take the samples at k times ts. This will also close and obtain the samples at k times ts. Why there are two lines is because I am trying to compare the incoming received signal with respect to the two symbols S1 and S2. Therefore, I am writing two branches for the receiver structure. If there are m number of symbols, then I am going to have m number of layers or m number of stats like this, which will compare the received signal with respect to all the m possible symbols. Now I am going to feed the sampled outputs into the shift register. So I hope you people know how the shift registers work. At every clock instance, so this will have a clock and it will be connected to a clock again. So whenever I obtain a time instance k into ts, I obtain a sample. At the same time, this flip-flop will also work and therefore it will take the sample at that particular time instance within it. So here I am going to consider 4 samples. Let me write a little bit below so that I have space to write. It's the same thing, I am rewriting it all over again. Why? Because I need to write the weights of the filter. So I am just erased and rewriting it. So nothing wrong. Okay, so this is the method. Once I sample at the first clock instance, I am going to feed the first sample into it. Okay, and then like that I go on putting all the samples into the shift register until and unless I get all the 4 samples in order to decide the symbol. So the first sample after 4th clock time instance, it will reach out to this space. So this is the sample obtained at 0th time instance, Si of 0. This one would be Si of 1, that is obtained at the next time instance. This one would be Si of 2. This one would be Si of 3. Similarly, the same thing, Si of 3, Si of 2, Si of 1, Si of 0. Now I have fed all my information, the received signal information. Yes? Any doubts? First understand the structure, then later on I will come back to your questions. Okay? Please let us finish this off. So once I have fed all the received samples, samples corresponding to only one particular symbol, I have just passed it to two stages or 2 different layers of the receiver structure, where I am going to compare this received samples with respect to the symbols. So where the symbols will be located here is, I am going to have what are called as weights corresponding to each symbol. So I am going to feed these information into the weights of the filter. We call it as weights of the filter. What are those weights is? I'm going to compare this with Ci, that is here in this case I'm going to compare it with Si will be compared with C1. This is for, this channel will be for symbol S1 and this channel will be for symbol S2. So I'm going to compare it with Ci of 0. That is C1 of 0, this one will be C1 of 1, C1 of 1, C1 of 2, this is C1 of 3. In the below channel, the weights will be C2 of 0, C2 of 1, C2 of 2 and C2 of 3. Please remember what are all the values that we had written, or what is the equation that we wrote for Ci of n. So please remember it is equal to Si of n minus 1 minus of n. Correct? We had written this as the expression to represent the samples or the reference samples values. Now I am going to write the values for this. Because weights are predetermined, it is like a reference value that we already have. So here in our case, this will be equal to Si of 3 minus n, correct? Si of 3 minus 1. Now I will give different values for n starting from 0. N will take any value from 0, 1 to n minus 1. So in our case, it will take from 0, 1 to 3. It can only take 3 values. Now we observe here. For the first symbol S1, that is C1 of n, you will have C1 of n is equal to S1 of 3 minus n. So we are now going to write the samples corresponding to the weights C1 of 0, C1 of 1, C1 of 2, C1 of 3. Let us try to write. C1 of 0 means S1 of 3 minus 0, which is equal to S1 of 3. Look at this waveform. S1 of 3, it is already sampled. So it is, I need to write this as K into Ts. So since I have already mentioned here, this T will be sampled at KTS. I am just writing it as T. So please observe here carefully. At time instance K is equal to 3 or S1 of 3, you need to map it at S1 where the time instance is 3 times Ts. What is this value? At this time instance, I have the value of this waveform as 0. So C1 of 0 is 0. C1 of 0 is 0. Then coming to C1 of 1, it will be equal to S1 of 3 minus 1. What is that? S1 of 2. What is the value of symbol S1 at time instance 2? You should only tell me, only then I will write.
Minus 1.
Minus 1, correct. So this is minus 1. C1 of 2 will be S1 of 3 minus 2, which is equal to S1 of 1. What is at S1 of 1? It is 0 again.
0.
Lastly, C1 of 3 is equal to S1 of 3 minus 3, which is equal to S1 of 0, which is equal to 1. So I have the weights of these filters as 0, minus 1, 0, plus 1. Okay? 0, minus 1, 0, plus 1. Similarly, I can write the weights for the second channel also. I will write it directly. You figure out, it is in the same way. C2 of 0 will have a value equal to 0 because you can see C2 of 0 is S2 of 3 minus 0. S2 of 3 has 0 over here. And C2 of 1 will have a value equal to plus 1. C2 of 2 will have a value equal to 0. C2 of 3 will have a value equal to minus 1. So these are the weights which are fixed. It is not going to change. Now, what is that will be changing is the samples that are obtained after reception of the signal. This is going to change. Now, what we need to do? We need to do the convolution operation depending on the signal that I am going to receive. How to do that? Once I am going to compare and multiply over here, then I am going to sum all these multiplied outputs like this, and then obtain the Z. I can only obtain this pre-detection point after collecting all the samples. So I am writing this value of Z at k is equal to 3, which is equal to summation n running from 0 to 3 Si of k minus n. K is already fixed. I am going to obtain only at time instance 3 for different values of n into C1 of n. Okay, so let us try to realize this or understand this. In the similar way, this one, for this case it will be S1 k minus n into C1 of n, or Si also you can write in general. And similarly in the bottom line also I will have a summing operation taking place, where each sample will be multiplied with the corresponding weight, and then I don't know whether you can see it over here. The same structure you can write it over here. I am going to write the equation somewhere at the top. Z at time instance k is equal to 3 will be equal to summation n running from 0 to 3 Si of k minus n C2 of n. We are going to compare it with the weight C2 of n. Now I will take a particular example now and then give you a scenario, or I will explain this scenario. Assume S1 is transmitted. Assume S1 is transmitted. If S1 is transmitted, whatever the sample that I have at 0th time instance will go first, because that is the first sample that is generated. Then at 1, then at 2, then at 3. Do you agree with me? Whatever that is generated first will go out of the system, or that will go first. Yes or no? It will not go like this. It will not wait for the next samples. It will not wait till all the information is collected. Rather, whichever the information is collected first will go through the channel. So whatever that is there at 0 will go first, then at 1, then at 2, then at 3. Now, when I am going to sample S1, when I am going to sample this S1 of T plus N of T, there will be some noise, so I am not worried about noise. Let us assume that this N is equal to 0 for time being. There is no noise. I am going to sample this at 4 different time instances. K is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. Now I am going to feed all the information, all the 4 samples. At the last 4th clock cycle, I am going to write the output. You just see here. The first sample that I am going to obtain is plus 1, which is after 4th clock instance it will reach out to here. So this one will be S1 of 0. What is S1 of 0? It will be equal to 1. What is S1 of 1? It will be equal to 0. S1 of 2, it will be equal to minus 1. S1 of 3, it will be equal to 0. Yes or no? From the waveform also you can say that. Similarly, the same S1 will also be fed into the second channel. Plus 1 will be fed 0, minus 1, 0. Why I am writing like this from the right to left is because, you please understand, this is the first sample that I am going to get, and that is fed into the shift register. So whatever the value of n that you are taking, or k minus n that you are taking, will help us in identifying for how much time duration it was existing, for how long it is existing within the shift register. So when I write S of k minus n, that is S1 of 3 minus n. In the first instance, S1 of 3 minus 0 means it was there till since 3 clock cycles. If it is equal to 2, then it was there for 2 clock cycles. If it is equal to 1, it was there for 3 clock cycles, 2 clock cycles, and S1 of 0 will be the instantaneous, the sample that is available at the 4th clock cycle. That is the last one. So you please observe here. Now I am going to compare the received signal information with respect to the weights. Now multiply these two and add. That is what we are going to do now. 0 into 0 is 0 plus minus 1 into minus 1 is 1 plus 0 into 0 is 0, 1 into 1 is 1. So when I add these values, I am going to get value equal to 2. So this is nothing but at time instance, the final time instance k is equal to 3, the comparison operation or a convolution operation will give me a value for this z as equal to 2. If I do the same process to the bottom layer, if you check, 0 multiplied with 0 is 0, minus 1 multiplied with plus 1 is minus 1, 0 multiplied with 0 is 0, plus 1 multiplied with minus 1 is minus 1. So when I add all these things, z value at k is equal to 3th time instance is equal to minus 2. So what did we say about BPSK information? Whenever I have equally likely scenario, exactly midway between those two, I can say that exactly midway between those two will be having the threshold point. So you can check it over here. The z value is clearly positive in the first channel, whereas the z value is clearly negative in the second channel. So you can straight away say that since the z value is larger in the first scenario compared with the second, the actual transmitted signal is S1. So I can surely say that S1 was transmitted. Okay? That I can clearly and confirmingly say that S1 was transmitted by just looking at the Z value being positive. Similarly, what if S2 was transmitted? Similarly, I'll give you another scenario. You need to tell me now, what if S2 is transmitted? I'm going to erase only this blue part where I have written the weights will remain constant, only the variable is S1, S2, S3. So therefore, I'm going to erase the top part. Okay, so my current scenario would be, instead of S1, S2 is transmitted. S2, this is S2, this is also S2, this is also S2, 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 and these two. Okay, assume S2 is transmitted. Now you need to tell me what values will get fed into the shift registers. Now S2 will be sampled. What is the first sample that enters here? What is the first sample in S2?
Minus 1. Minus 1.
So minus 1 will enter first. Then at the next time instance, 0.
0.
At time instance 2, 1 will enter. Then at the last time, it is going to be 0. So again here also, minus 1, 0, plus 1, 0. Now you compare with the weights. You can check it over there. Z at time instance k is equal to 3. 0 into 0, 0. 1 into minus 1 is minus 1. 0 into 0 is 0. Minus 1 into plus 1 is minus 1. And this value is clearly negative here. Coming to this case, k is equal to, z at k is equal to 3. I'm going to write it over here itself. 0 into 0 is 0. Plus 1 into plus 1 is plus 1. 0 into 0 is 0. Minus 1 into minus 1 is plus 1. So this value is clearly equal to 2. So therefore, in this case you can see it is exactly the reverse. The value of Z becomes positive when I am comparing the received signal with respect to the weights of the second symbol S2. So therefore, I am going to decide this in favor of that S2 was transmitted. So now I am going to decide in favor of symbol S2 and say that S2 was transmitted. So instead of using this analog multiplier and the integrator circuit where we have to also think about some operations like though they are the linear systems, we need to think about stability and realizing them in an analog fashion. Instead of that, we can take few samples, compare it with the samples of your original reference signals and then try to correlate them Okay, multiply and try to obtain their correlation. This is something like an autocorrelation. Wherever you are going to get a positive and a very high value, there you say that the received signal is corresponding to that particular symbol. If it is value is negative, then we are going to conclude in the favor of the other symbol. Okay, then we are going to discard the possibility that the transmitted signal belongs to symbol S1. So whatever is positive, we are going to decide in favor of that particular symbol. I hope this concept is clear. Sample matched filter. Any doubts? Any doubts? No doubts. So I am going to post an assignment in your Moodle. You can go and check. You have to come up with a solution for the sample matched filter. I am going to give you the assignment. You can check it out. And this particular part, see whatever the topics that I am dealing now, it is the 4th chapter from the textbook Digital Communication by Sklar. Okay, it is the 4th chapter in the textbook, in your prescribed textbook. Go and start studying from the textbook. In the next week we are going to have quiz 1. So I am going to announce the quiz 1 very soon. Maybe in next midweek or something. I am going to give you the timings and the date. By today evening or tomorrow I am going to give you the date and timing of the quiz. So next week definitely you are going to have your first quiz. So start studying. If you have any doubts, you get it clarified, ask me. So for today we are going to stop it over here. In the next class we are going to discuss about coherent detection of MPSK systems. That is, what if m value is greater than 2. So far we have only discussed about m is equal to 2 case. So in the coming classes we are going to go with the same PSK system which are coherent detection, but for m value is greater than 2. Okay. So I am going to stop it here and then we shall continue in the next class. So start studying. This part will be from the chapter 4 of your textbook, and the page number till where I have completed in this 4th chapter is till page number 187. Page number 187 in your textbook. Till there I have finished. So this is like half of the first module is over. So make sure that almost 60% you can say, it is almost over. So please try to study and try to keep up with the pace with which we are going. If you are not understanding anything, you have to let me know. You have to let me know for sure. Okay. Thank you all for joining. I am going to stop.